we have our guest on the line. Keith, how you doing?
I'm good, Don. How's it going?
All right. Keith, give us a little bit of background about yourself. Keith Hampton. I want to make sure I get your last name out there so everybody know a little bit about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Well, I'm a filmmaker and a father. I have a son and a husband. I have a son who's 12 years old and autistic. And currently I am working on a film project that I am doing with regard to the autism epidemic.
Okay. Tell me about this. Tell me a little bit about your experience with your son. I know you said, when did you first find out that he was had autism?
Back when he was 18 months old, we took him in for his 18-month MMR shot, and that day, right after we got him home, he ran a high fever, and he just ran a whole gamut of reactions to the shot, and we really didn't know what was going on, and we called back to the doctor's office to find out more about the symptoms, and they said it was normal, but never went away. He was talking normal and everything and had all of his cognitive abilities before that, but then after that they just digressed, and that's when I first began to inquire about what was going on with him and where my knowledge began about the whole autism. And it was not long after that I found out what had happened to him. It was a friend of mine who actually came by the house to visit and had observed the fact that he had digressed in his speech, and was developing some other symptoms. And she said, "I think your son might have autism." And so I began to look at and research it at that point. So it was a little before he was 2 years old.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, Keith, my name is Eugene, man. Good to have you on board.
Thanks, Eugene.
You know, the station is putting a big effort toward this Autism Week, and I think that's a fantastic thing to bring this issue to the forefront. For so long, my awareness has been limited, and even though I have a relative that has autism, my awareness of what all of that really means is growing day by day. So to have this week dedicated to autism, this whole month is Autism Month, excuse me. So to have this month dedicated and to have our shows throughout the cadre of programs dedicated to this, I think is a good step in helping our listening audience become aware. So as I say that to you, I use the word aware a couple of times because I think this whole awareness thing is something that we really do not have. You know,
you're right.
We really do not have it. I have a good friend who has a son that is autistic, and my sister, like I said, has a son who is autistic. But what I did learn in my infancy and my immaturity of this subject is that autism is really an umbrella for a couple of different levels of autism, if you will. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's a whole spectrum of different things that fall under the autism label, and including if you may have heard of ADHD, ADD,
yes. Right?
And there's a whole bunch of different levels of autism. Okay. And different things that fall under the spectrum. And I think, one of the biggest misconceptions is that, you can readily see and notice when a child is autistic, and that's not always the case.
Okay. What are some of the signs and symptoms, Keith, that you saw in your kid, and what are some signs and symptoms that some parents can probably look at?
Probably the biggest one is his loss in communication. My son in particular is a moderate level autism, meaning that he lost his speech, and his receptive language is there, but his ability to speak the language that's in his head is was not there.
Okay.
And, he's still recovering from that. And also, not looking you in the eyes, not making eye contact is a huge one. I know before, my son and I, we were bonded. We spent a lot of time together during the days because I was working in the evenings at the time. And when this first happened, that was one of the first things that I noticed was that he would not look me in the eye anymore.
Okay.
So that's another big one. I think that on a broader sense, when children have problems focusing, a lot of those symptoms might fall under the autism spectrum.
Okay.
So focus is a big issue. Speech and communication is another big issue. And those are probably the two biggest ones.
Yeah. Some of the challenges that you face and that you have faced with your son and how you begin to kind of overcome it. Because I know we have people out there that's dealing with the whole autism piece. And so speak to our audience and talk about that a little bit.
There's so many different challenges. I mean, when you have a child who's autistic, especially anywhere moderate or higher level, lower level functioning autism than moderate, it really changes your lifestyle. So we've had challenges with his diet, allergies to certain foods, and how he reacts when he eats certain foods, and having to adjust our grocery shopping and that sort of thing, and how we prepare our meals. That's been a challenge. Also, just going back and forth, especially in the beginning with different doctors and trying to figure out exactly what's going on and what we can do to help him. Adjusting schedules for things like therapy, because he goes to speech therapy and he also does occupational therapy. And then also with being able to get him to tell us when something's going on with him, when something's going wrong.
Right.
Or when he wants something, when he's hungry, instead it might turn into just signs of frustration from him.
Right.
Right. And so we had to develop kind of our own way of communicating. We use a mixture of sign language and verbal communication, and also he has an iPad now, so he uses that as a communication device to be able to say a lot of what he wants to say.
So, Keith, let me ask you this: is this something that he, as the autistic person, does he develop the language that you have to learn, or do you help him create the language that helps you all communicate? Do you understand my? Are you, are you taking a look at the things that he does that seem to communicate to you, and you say, okay, if I do this or that, then he's going to understand what I'm trying to say to him, or is he doing these things to get your attention, and you say, oh, that's what that means?
Yeah, it's a combination. It just really depends on what's going on at the time. Okay. And it also depends on who's trying to communicate with him, or who he's trying to communicate with. Because, like, a lot of times, he'll be kind of lazy about it, and I try to push him to use his verbal language and to use his signs by not allowing him to be so lazy about it. Because a lot of times he'll come to me, like if he wants something out of the pantry, one of his favorite snacks, he'll come to me and he'll grab me by the wrist and take me over there and
take you to the snack, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Take me to the snack. And so then I'll take him right back. I know what he wants at that point, so I know when he's communicating it properly. So I'll take him back. I'll go, no, go get your iPad and come and show me. Because he's learning how to use that device. So he's motivated at that point.
Okay, so just help me with a little bit of clarification. What does he do on the iPad that helps this process?
He uses one of the autism communication apps. There's many of them out there.
Okay.
the one he uses in particular right now is called Sonaflex, and it allows him to be able to go in and select pictures. They have pictures with words next to them or underneath them.
Okay.
And he can use those pictures to form sentences and then tap on the sentence, and it will speak the sentence for him.
Now, in school, is school really providing a lot of support for him having autism?
Yeah, he's in an autism class, and the school provides some speech therapy and some occupational therapy, and also provides devices such as the iPad and such for communication in school.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of, we meet with the teachers and the administrators and and folks as a team to come up with the best plan for him to be able to succeed in his classroom.
Okay. Keith, we want to take a little quick break, man. We want to take a break and come back with you. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back. Crest Automotive, complete car and truck specialists. We specialize in tune-ups, brakes, oil change, engine and transmission repair, along with all other major and minor repairs. For more information on Crest Automotive, you can reach us at 770-693-0223. That's 770-693-0223. We're located at 5961 Mableton Parkway in Mableton, Georgia. If you'd like to receive a 10% discount on all major car repairs, mention that you heard this live on Miller on the Mic. And remember, for best at less, go see your complete car and truck specialist at Crest. Hello, my name is Don E. Miller, CEO, founder of Young, Bold, Unique, which is a youth and adult consulting agency. Our mission is to provide programs and activities to strengthen the lives of young people and their families. We also provide services that focus on the training and development of individuals in nonprofit, corporate, and private organizations. For more information on the array of services provided by Young, Bold, Unique, we can be reached at 404-693-7483, emailed at ybu00@hotmail.com, or visit our website at www.youngboldunique.com. Remember, why be you? Because you can't be anyone else.
Call into this live broadcast toll free anywhere from the continental U.S. at 1-866-923-2860. That's 1-866-923-2860. Metro Atlanta callers can still call 404-355-8699.
You listen to Miller on the Mic. I have my partner in here, Mr. Eugene Phillips with Phillips and Associates. We're doing our normal monthly program called Just Us Guys. We have on our line Keith Hamilton. He's also a father with a son with autism, and he's a filmmaker. He's making a feature film on autism called The Spectrum. We have him on the line. We're going to be talking a little bit more about autism tonight. We're going to be carrying this also to next week. But if you want to participate in this dialogue, our call-in numbers are 404-355-8699, 404-355-8699, or 1-866-923-2860. That's 1-866-923-2860. And we're giving away 2 tickets to the Uptown Comedy Corner they have tomorrow night. They're going to have Guy Torrey. So you can win 2 tickets to go see Guy Torrey. He's going to be at the Uptown Comedy Corner, which is going to be tomorrow night. So you can win those 2 tickets if you call in. Keith.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging tight with us, man. We appreciate you doing that.
No problem.
Tell me a little bit more about, your film. Tell me about your film.
Okay, film's called The Spectrum, for obvious reasons, when it comes to autism. And it's about the impact that the rise of the autism epidemic has on the family and their challenges and triumphs over overcoming what has happened in their life and how it has affected their life.
Okay. Keith, I wanted to ask you something. Your wife, how does this affect her?
Tremendously. My wife, at the time when my son was being diagnosed with autism, my wife was going through recovery. She was in the hospital. She had just had our youngest son, and right after that, she had a stroke. And so, actually, she went through a period of time when she was recovering her speech, and she had lost her speech, and my son had lost his speech as well. So it was a challenge for the whole family. And one difficulty, I believe, is the physical element. If my son, for example, is going through some frustration, and having some doubts about, how he's going to communicate physically and stuff like that, or, how frustrated he's going to get. That's a challenge. And also with the whole communication piece, that was a challenge, especially in the beginning.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And how's your wife now?
Oh, a lot better.
Good,
lot
man.
better. My wife is great. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
We blessed. We thank God for where we are now.
Okay.
Hey, Keith, it's Eugene again. So, did I understand that your child is about 12 years old now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in that process, as you grew with your child and understanding this ailment, at what point did you decide that this film needed to be made, and what is the nature of your film? What are you trying to say with your film?
With going through what we were going through at the time, I had to put some things on the back burner for a little while as far as my filmmaking was concerned, and just basically try to get some things stable within my family. And there came a time just when just that desire in me to tell the world and to tell the story. And I began in my research. I began working on developing a screenplay, and so it's been throughout the course of these last 10 years or so. Somewhere probably around our second year going through it, when I started developing my research into a story. Really, I felt like, that the word that you guys are using, awareness, is super big, super important. I just feel like it's something that people need to know. When I began to hear other parents' stories and began to hear that they're similar to ours, and then when I began to see the debates happening on television and worldwide news shows, where parents were being dejected about the experiences that they were going through and being told that they were exaggerating their experiences. And I had experienced what I saw firsthand.
Right.
You know, I just felt like, okay, you know, I'm blessed to be able to make films and to be able to tell a story in that medium and to have a voice in that way. So that needs to be my way of, you know, giving back to the cause of awareness, so that somewhere down the line, you know, hopefully my story, our story, which is the story of so many other families, can begin to, you know, have some kind of influence over, you know, the research and the development of cures and of some of the other things that need to happen with reference to solving the big problem we have, because the numbers are still growing. You know, when I saw that the numbers were growing and had gone from 1 in 10,000 children having autism to 1 in every 167, it was at the time, I was astounded.
You know those numbers done changed a little bit more now. It's 1 in 88 children in the U.S. are affected by autism.
Yeah, that's the last number that I got. So it's still growing, and it's still a huge problem. You know, and one thing that really bothered me was the fact that I never heard the word coming out of these so-called experts' mouths. I never heard the word epidemic come out of their mouths.
Ooh.
You know, and I was like, with the amount of children that are affected, the amount of families, you know, this is affecting our school system. It's affecting our whole nation. You know, it's affecting the whole world. And, you know, I wasn't hearing the word epidemic come out of, you know, folks' mouths that it should have came out of. And I was like, why is that? Why is that? So I felt like I had to do something, which was start developing this story and start having a voice, because there are so many things that I went through as a parent that I run into other people, you know, and they didn't know. They didn't know. And I'm like, why is it that parents don't know? Why is it that so many in certain neighborhoods don't know about resources that are available?
That's where I want you to go at, because you know, one of the things that's really disheartening about this on one end is that, you know, I understand the whole autism movement, but one of the areas that seem to be so problematic is this disparity among African Americans and Hispanic groups about this whole autism piece. You know. Yeah,
and I'm not sure that it's necessarily a African American and Hispanic thing, as much as it is a class thing.
Well, it's a class thing too, but you know, it said yet you know, the autism thing affects all racial and economic populations equally, but yet African American children are likely to be diagnosed 1.5 years later than Caucasian children.
Right, because we've been living more in poverty for a longer period of time, and so we don't have access to those resources.
Access or information, you know. Access or information.
Okay, so let me play the devil's advocate here for just a little bit to maybe bring this point home. There's also a aura, if you will, with being diagnosed with something that could potentially be a mental illness. Do you think also that some of us as, you know, black and brown people, that we are afraid of being labeled as such, you know, as our kids are developing, because we hear the horrors, if my kid is labeled this way or that way, then it's going to hurt them in the future. Do you think also that played a part in it?
I think it does, but I think that's something that we need to get over, because, you know, it's like with any problem, you know, once you figure out what the problem is, you need to acknowledge it, and then you need to, you know, and that's going to help you to really reach out and try to find a way to solve it. If you don't admit that there's a problem, then how can you fix it?
You're right. And I think that's why one of the reasons why I blew that out like that, because I think one of the things that happens most of the time in some of the African American communities, just a lack of information. But what you just said was that there's a lot of information out there. So talk to our audience a little bit. You may have some parents out there, and I don't want to make it seem as though that's a group, but that is a group that's being really misdiagnosed a lot. And when we look at this whole thing, when we look at autism, that a lot of misdiagnoses, and sometimes kids don't get diagnosed till later years. So speak to our audience a little bit about what could they do to try to change that in those communities of getting that diagnosis early and getting the awareness out about autism.
Like I said, the first thing is to really just recognize that if there's something going on, I mean, that's your child, and that's your child's life, get it checked out. And oftentimes, if there's no health insurance or, something like that, the internet is an incredible resource. Then you have a lot of different organizations and websites related to autism. You can go to one autism website online, and it'll point you to a bunch of other resources. And if you don't have a computer, which there are still a lot of people who don't have a computer in their home.
You're right. That
are running into the issue. So if you don't have a computer and you can find a way to get to that library and start looking up some of those resources, that's another place. I see the libraries so packed now.
Right.
With people. And you have to reach out, and we have to communicate with each other, because that's extremely important. And if we're in a position like the one where I am, where I'm aware and I understand and I've been through it, we have to be intentional about finding other people who are in that situation early on and making them aware.
Right.
We have to let our parents know to be conscious about the shots that they're getting for their child. Ask as many questions as possible. In our case, we decided not to go any further with the vaccinations, because I saw firsthand what it had done to my son. And so, and then know your rights. Know your rights.
I'm glad you said that, because my sister, it's funny. My sister, when she started talking about this ailment very, very freely with family members, I began to recognize how really brilliant she really was. Now, I don't know if she was brilliant just because she studied and found out how to take care of her son and how to get him diagnosed and treated, or if she's truly just an intelligent person that I think she is. But I really do know that one of her fights was somebody needs to recognize what I recognize as being wrong with my child, and somebody needs to do something about it. That was early on. And a little bit later than that, she says that she demanded that they put a diagnosis on her kid so that he could receive some of the state-sponsored and federal-sponsored programs that were available to help get them through this. How do you feel about that?
I feel like if you know your child. I mean, the parent knows the child better than anybody, and so, that's a part of that piece that I was talking about being intentional. And you have to be courageous too, because there'll be a lot of rejection, and there'll be a lot of challenges behind reaching out to get the resources and to get the information. So yeah, I feel like that's Well,
I go on to say that, again, back to what I said earlier, is that we were so afraid at one point to have our kid diagnosed. I remember listening to a gentleman named Kwanzaa Kunjufu and Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And one of the things that he really iterated in that speech was that we have to watch our kids because they are apt to be diagnosed with all of these different things, one of which was ADHD, I think, or T. I may be saying that wrong. Forgive me.
ADHD.
But ADHD. Okay. And he said, these are the kinds of things that hold our kids back. Now, at the same time, awareness, and this is new awareness since he gave that speech. That was almost 10 years ago. The new awareness is, hey, take a look at my kid for real and see what is really going on with them, because if they have a problem, we need to do something about it.
Right, because, the other thing is, if you don't have, if there is something seriously going on with your child and you don't have a diagnosis, and you're not getting the services, and you're doing your child an injustice, one thing. And then the other part to that is, when it comes to discipline, if you don't understand why a child is behaving the way that child is, that, they may be getting consequences for their actions that, they wouldn't have gotten.
You are so right, because that happens in the school system.
Early in school.
Exactly. And what has happened in the past, I mean, it has moved fast, it's moved forward fast, but in the past, a lot of kids were being misdiagnosed as having one issue, a behavior issue, but it was really autism. And so what ended up happening for time going, that the kid did not get the services that he needed because it was more perceived that he had a behavior problem, but really had autism, which falls under the mental health piece. So that's why it's so important that, we have you on the show and we put information to let parents know to get their kids diagnosed early. Yeah, that 18-month time frame is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to watch your child early and ask questions early, before age 2. Yeah, and, that's extremely important.
Because a lot of people wait late. They wait late, and the later is that kid has now gone years without getting the services that they need.
Yeah, I tell you, I can't turn back the hands of time and say what a difference it would have made, but I can say this, that at the time when we were getting our son diagnosed, it took over a year, maybe 2 years to go through the process because, it took so long to get appointments with the different doctors that he needed to see. It would take months at a time for him to get an appointment with a doctor, and so that time spent, could have been time that he could have been going through some additional interventions that he ended up going through at age 3 and 4. That he started then.
And that's why I came out the way I did about that whole other piece, that whole minority piece, because if that's what's going on, that process has to be faster and people have to be aware. Because if not, you got, when you start dealing with the economic piece, the social pieces that kind of plays into this too, it's important that we get information out there and resources out there. So my next question to you, really, Keith, is what kind of resources out there for parents?
Well, like I said, autism organizations and websites. Just go with them. There's just so many of them. You have things like the Katie Beckett deeming waiver that's available for parents with low incomes, and there's unfortunately there's not a whole lot of facilities like the Market Center around where children can get other additional interventions. But check with the school. The school, there's a ton of resources in the school system. So it can start with something as simple as talking with those departments at the school that are in charge of dealing with the autism services, and so I would say that's those are probably the best places to start.
Okay, Keith, we appreciate that.
Hey, Keith, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and in some of the organizations, you'll find a lot of other parents who have awareness of other additional resources. But if the only thing you have as a parent is access to is that child's public school, then that's probably going to be a great place to start.
I agree. We need to start wherever we can. I just want to, in my other show, I host a program called Mind Your Own Business Hour, where we talk about entrepreneurial pursuits. And your movie making is certainly one of those pursuits. Are you doing this movie not only to do awareness, to make awareness of this disorder, or are you also trying to make a little money from it? I just need to know. Second to that is that there are a couple of shows on TV on the airways right now. One is called Touch, about an autism kid, and it's been on for 2 sessions now, so it must be getting a good following. And then just before that was a picture about lawyers, and one of the lawyers had Asperger's syndrome. Asperger's syndrome. You can tell my ignorance here, but please forgive me for that. I'm trying. But he turned out to be quite a brilliant lawyer within his firm. But his behavior, his character, the things that he did really indicated that there was something else going on behind that genius. My nephew, I think, is a genius as well. Before this kid could speak like you, he was using the computer and doing things on the computer and taking that whole scenario, beyond where anybody thought he could comprehend. So I think that this may be God's way of showing us that in our own uniqueness, we can still be a contributing factor, even if this disorder or ailment falls on us as humans.
That's true. I mean, I've learned so much from my son, I can't even begin to describe how much, and, we all, you're right. We all do have our idiosyncrasies that we have to learn to live with and we have to learn to embrace. And, the key thing as parents is that, we have to love our children. We have to love them and accept them and know that, whatever is going on with them, there's a way. There's always a way. So,
and about your movie, are you trying to do something, regional or national with this? Are you trying to get some backing to help you get it on the airways, or what's going on with that?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I'm working on, going forward right now with getting backing, and I am working on a national level with that.
Okay.
And one thing I would love to do with the outcome of this film, God's will, I would love to be able for it to make some money and for us to be able to, give back to these communities that don't have the resources and don't have the awareness. That's a big goal of mine.
Fantastic, man.
Fantastic.
And with anything else that I do in the future, that's a huge goal of mine.
And we want you to get big time, man. We call on you. We can't even get it. We can't get an interview like this.
And you'll have an open invitation to come back to either one of these programs that we do. We'd love to have you on and talk more about the movie and where it's going and how it's affecting folks. So always know that you have a welcome seat here at the mic with us.
I'd always love to come back.
Okay.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Hey, Keith, get that website out where they can go to for the actors' autism, how they can donate. Do you have that?
Hold on a second. Which one?
I think there's a website that y'all have called actorsforautism.org. Isn't that correct? Where the people can go and donate to the cause?
Yeah, that particular I'm not aware of that one.
Okay.
But you can go to Autism Speaks.
Autism.
You can go to
Autism Speaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And you can donate that way and contribute to the cause. And as far as my website for the things that I just mentioned, I wanted to do with my film in the future. That's in development, and hopefully, I'll be back and I can share that with you guys.
Yeah, please do, man. Please do, Keith, man. We appreciate you, man. Your family's in our prayers, man. We're glad that you was willing to come out, talk about the whole thing about autism and your son. Because sometimes people don't like to get that self-disclosure, and so I appreciate you doing that, man. I appreciate you being in that position to try to help others. So we really appreciate you sharing your time with us, man.
Hey, thank you. No problem. You're welcome. And, just in the future here, probably within the next month, you'll be able to go to thespectrummovie.com.
Okay.
the website for my movie is being developed right now, and that'll be another place you can go.
TheSpectrumMovie.com?
Yes.
TheSpectrumMovie.com. Okay.
Yes.
All right, man. Stay in touch with us now. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
All right, thank you so much, man.
Okay. All right. How you doing?
We're going to go to our final break. We'll be right back.